Hello and welcome to another week of Beginning Networking 1. This is week 13 where we'll be covering Chapter 13, Maintaining and Supporting a Network, Chapter 14, Network Security Principles, and Chapter 15, Network Security Practices. So read all the three of those chapters. And then there's going to be two labs. So there'll be the using Ethernet management and performance monitors, and then configuring a NAT firewall. You have the Professor Messer videos for this week, not as many, and then we're going to take the pre-assessment again and the total tester. So for the pre-assessment, it's going to be found right here on this page. And when you're ready to start it, just start it up and then do the pre-assessment and start the test. And then when you're all done, take a print screen that you finished it and upload it to the class site for me and put it in this folder here, and that's worth 100 points. So and compare the score to the first time you took the pre-assessment, and hopefully you see a big improvement there, and then you can go back and kind of see what areas that you still might need to work on. Okay, so that's the assignments for the week, and so we're going to take a look, and we're doing chapters 13, 14, and 15. So with, let's just go to chapter 14, and then we'll just back up into the area that we're going to talk about here in 13. All right, so we're getting into some pretty heavy stuff that's you're going to have to understand pretty well. So network upgrades and downgrades. So technology is always changing and usually getting faster and better and so forth. So there's always going to be upgrades, whether it's security patches or hot fixes or whether it's hardware or software. There's always going to be things that are changing that you have to upgrade to keep your network current, basically. So, and for networking, I got tabs here. We're gonna go over more in depth here to give you some ideas of what we're doing with this kind of stuff. So, and then installing patches and updates. So, like just for instance, if we do updates on my computer, we can see Windows updates right here. And you can check for updates, do those updates. You can get a PC health check. You can pause your updates, change your active hours, view update history, and here you can kind of configure when you're going to be doing uh, your advanced options, which will have different controls, different controls and settings. Excuse me. And then you can download and install all the updates. You can view optional updates and so forth. So it's just some Windows security. We should have these will be updates as well. You'll get updates for these. And when you get into working with servers and so forth, there'll be a lot more type of updates, and there'll be updates for your routers and switches and so forth. So that's just an example of some of the installing patches and updates. You want to try to keep that automated. That way, it's done for you, and you don't have to remember about it. So antivirus and anti-spyware, you want to make sure that you have this on your network and that it's in real time protection, and that you keep it updated and download the most current virus definition. Sometimes that's almost daily nowadays because so many people are putting out different various malware type things. Okay, so backing up network data. For the most part, most companies have probably switched over to the cloud at this point. So probably in your jobs that you get, you probably can count on using the cloud quite a bit. But the old school stuff is you have tape rotations, and so you'll do backups to tapes, and then you'll have those tapes, and you'll store them off site somewhere. That way, in case the building catches on fire or there's a tornado or whatever, your backups are somewhere different, and then all you have to do is replace your hardware, and you can reload all the data. You want to have backups regularly. I think now with the cloud, they're doing them pretty much like, I think you can have it done as fast as you want, like every minute. So, and but if you're using the tapes, it's usually once a day, and then they'll be done at night, and you'll have full backups, incremental, and differential backups, where a full backup backs up any selected file, whether the archive bit is set or not, and then clears the archive bit. An incremental backup backs up only the selected files that have the archive bit set, and then clears the archive bit after the backup, and a differential backup backs up only the selected files that have the archive bit set and does not clear the archive bit. So you would have all three of these working in tandem, and one day a week you would probably do the full backup, and then the other days these would run based on how many, which different files type changed and stuff. Fault tolerance. So, like their example here is you lose power in a server, then there'd be a second one waiting to take over. So, like that'd be like a hot backup. RAID is a disk fault tolerance technology that involves multiple drives storing the data. And depending on the RAID level you use, you can still get access to data if the disk fails because a copy of the data is stored on another disk. And RAID, there's different levels. So RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5. Basically on RAID 0, you're going to, your keyword is striping, and it puts the data across at least two hard drives. So the computer sees both of those hard drives as one, basically. RAID level 1, same thing, except you have two hard drives, except it stores one full copy on both of the hard drives. So basically, you're making a live backup, and your keyword there is mirrored. RAID level 5 is also known as disk striping with parity, whereby the data is striped across multiple disks, and it has parity so that if a disk fails, the missing data can be replaced, rebuilt. Network management and documentation and configuration management. Basically, you want to have your network documented really good. It makes it a lot easier to maintain. So, let's see here. All right, so here we have Cisco. It's your network infrastructure upgrade guide. So I'll put this link in the week for you, so you have that. But it talks about security and mobility experiences, replacing your infrastructure. So this is a good thing to kind of maybe hang on to, and you can reference this if you ever have to upgrade a network. And then for security tips, this is from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and it talks about your patches and best practices for software updates and so forth. So this is a good thing that you might want to bookmark as well, and then you can go back, and then there's like threats protecting against ransomware and email general information about cybersecurity, how to get rid of your electronics. Just this is a pretty valuable page. It has a lot of stuff on here that might be of interest to you. And if you go back one more page here, you're going to have links to the alerts, the bulletins, analysis reports on cybersecurity, current activity, and then let's see what's in resources here. So you have cybersecurity frameworks, partnerships, outreach resources, Facebook, and there's just a lot of stuff here that you can go through. All right, so antivirus and anti-spyware. So antivirus is an application software which is designed and developed to protect computers from malware, viruses, computer worms, spyware, rootkits, keyloggers, etc. So that's what your antivirus is, and your anti-spyware is a type of security software that detects and protects from unwanted spyware programs. So if you get spyware, then that's usually not good. And here's a little chart that kind of shows the differences between the two. Okay, so next we're going to talk about RAID. So RAID is where you have multiple disks, and you're either using it to make a backup, or you're using it to create more disk space. So there's different levels. So RAID 0, again, your keyword there is striping. RAID 1 is mirroring. And then RAID 2, 3, and 4 are not talked about too much. But the next big one is RAID 5, and that's parity with striping. And then RAID 10 is basically RAID 1 plus 0. So RAID 10, it works by striping and mirroring data sets across at least 2 disks. So this right here, probably more than what you wanted to know about RAID, but good one to bookmark as well. And I do have another one for RAID because RAID's a pretty important topic. And so most times you're going to have a box, something like this, is going to have multiple drives in it, and that's what your RAID is made up of physically. And here it goes through what mirroring, duplexing, deferred, hot swapping, hot sparring. It gives you all the definitions, and then it has each RAID level as well. And so that's a good one to take a look at too. This next site we're going to look at is SolarWinds, and for the network documentation. Basically, you want to document your network and have charts that show what your network is looking like, and you want to have maps of your network so you understand the network, and if you have problems, you can refer back to this and kind of check it out and make sure that you know what you're doing with it. But you want to have probably the logical and the physical maps available. And then here I have the physical topology and logical topology. What's the difference? So the physical, it depicts the physical layout of the network, whereas the logical depicts the network concerned with the transmission of data. So this is actually how the data is transmitted throughout the network, and this is the physical layout. So they are different, but it helps to have both because you might need them at different points. And then here it gives you the definitions and everything. So also there's a lot of other stuff up here that being in IT that might prove to be valuable to you at some point. So okay, so now we're going to take a look at the other chapters here. So we'll go to chapter 14 now. And we'll just roll back just a little bit here. Okay, so in this chapter, chapter 14, we get into attack types. So there's social engineering attacks where the hacker tries to trick you through like social context, such as an email or a phone call or something like that. And they try and get your passwords or whatever information they can that will help them access the network. Denial of service attacks, or DDoS, what they're referred to, and they basically crash your system by sending so much information to it that the system is occupied and can't take valid requests. The password attack types, the big ones, dictionary, hybrid, and brute force. Of course, there's other ones. Spoof attacks are when the hacker tries to alter the source address to make the data look like it came from a different source. There are different types of spoofing activities. There's IP spoofing, MAC spoofing, and email. And then a buffer overflow attack typically results in the hacker getting shell access to the system with administrative permissions, which is never good. Okay, so system security. When a user logs onto the network, an access token is created that contains the user account and it groups the users in as a member of, and then the token is used to authorize access to resources. You have security descriptors are broken down into several components: access control list, discretionary access control list, and owner and primary groups. The DACL is a list that shows the users and groups allowed to access the object and the level of permissions applied. User level security is used in all new Windows operating systems that allows administrators to select which users can access a resource and specifically the permission that they have. So you might be able to just read a document. You might be able to contribute to a document. You might have full control where you can create new documents and so forth. You can secure the registry for Windows systems by using regedit.exe and setting permissions on different areas in the registry. That's important because you don't want people going in and messing with the registry because that'll cause you a lot of problems. Auditing allows you to monitor the security of the system and any administration performed. Let me see if I can find my logs real quick here. All right, let's see if we can find some logs here real quick. Okay, so logs. What you have to do is come down here and search for the event finder or event viewer, and then once you do, you will see that you have Windows logs here, and you have application security setup and system. So anything that's an application type event will happen here, and then security setup system. They track what. Uh, Basically what their name says. So this one here, for instance, that we're looking at, it says it successfully scheduled software protection service for restart on uh, 10 on October 5th. And then it gives you a reason, and there was a rules engine. So somewhere in here, there's a rule that says that this should be done. So and it load that, and then you can go back and you can look at all the different ones that have happened. So here we had a power engage. So you can use these to kind of see what's happening. Here's one that's a little bit different, and you can sort them by the source site. So here was an installer of some sort, and so it installed something apparently, and you can come over here and you can look at the system. And then you can see more in detail of what actually was going on. So, and then you can also look at the code behind that if you know how to read the code. Okay, so that's your logs. And then, so where were we at? So, yeah, so we were talking about the auditing that allows you to monitor security of the system and administration activities performed. Permission levels are level of access to the resource. And it's basically just what you're allowed to do, what permissions you have. And then implementing network security, we have network access control, NAC, set of technologies that can be used to determine the health of a system before allowing the system to make a connection to a wired network, wireless network, or VPN solution. NAC considers a system to be healthy based on whether the system has a firewall enabled, it's up to date with patches, and has software installed. And I think I have that pulled up here real quick. Let me see here. So right here's my health report. So I'm not having any apps or software issues, no Windows with time service, no storage capacity issues, and no battery life issues. And then you can come in here and there's a lot of different areas that you can take a look at. So here's the firewall firewall, and it says I need no action needed, so I'm good there. And then you have your security. So you can see that I'm running McAfee virus scan, and everything looks good there. And here, the account protection. I don't have the dynamic lock set up, and my wireless and my apps and browser control, and you can change different settings on these things, and then parental controls if you got kids and stuff. So um, so when you're talking about healthy, that's some of the stuff that they're looking at. You should be able to you should ensure you separate the network in order to control communications between different parts of the network or different classifications of systems. That's very important. Securing communication. Semantic encryption uses the same encryption key for encrypting and decrypting traffic. Asymmetric encryption uses a different key to encrypt the traffic from the one it uses to decrypt it. There's multiple methods of securing communication. And then encryption can be defined as the process of taking plain text data and converting it to ciphertext. Internet Protocol security allows for encryption of all data on an IP network, and configuring an IPsec policy, the Secure Sockets Layer (SSL), is used to encrypt website information transferred between a user and a website. The two-layer tunneling protocol and point-to-point tunneling protocol are VPNs. And Kerberos is the distributed authentication security mechanism used by Windows Active Directory for user validation. Okay, disaster recovery should have fault tolerance. We talked about RAID. That's one of the things that you could use. Disaster recovery is the concept of ensuring you can recover from any type of disaster by preparing for it. You can prepare for disaster by building a disaster recovery plan, which contains step-by-step procedures for recovering from different failures or disasters. So basically you're going to have backups, and then have a plan for have those available offsite or in the cloud or somewhere, and then have a plan where you can uh, deploy new hardware so you can get your network back up and running. You can create an alternative site for your organization as part of your disaster recovery plan. There's hot, cold, and warm. So hot is a mirror image of your main one that you're using all the time, and if something happens to the main one, this automatically switches over. A warm one is where you have equipment there, and you have backups that you'd have to get onto the new equipment at the warm site. And so a warm site, basically there's some work you have to do, but it's basically set up, but it's not live. So you basically have to make it live. And then a cold site is just where you have like basically a building, and you don't have any equipment or no backups there. So, but you do have a place to do all this stuff. It's talking about, let's see here, to protect your network. So you want to place your web servers, FTP servers, mail servers in a DMZ to protect them from the outside world. Make sure that you patch all systems and devices. Patching a system or device helps remove the vulnerabilities from the system. And then review your firewall rules to be certain you are only allowing needed traffic through to the network. Physically secure servers behind a locked door in a controlled server room, and encrypt the traffic of sensitive data so that it cannot be captured and analyzed by network intruders. So you'd have SSL and IPsec would be some tools for that. Be sure to spend time hardening your servers. So hardening actually goes for everything that you have on your network. Removing unnecessary services from the system. So if you're not using it, get it off of your network. Make sure you perform a vulnerability scan of the network with tools such as LandGuard on a regular basis. So, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at the next chapter. So give me just a minute to pull that up for us. Okay, so for this chapter, we're talking about physical security controls. So cipher locks should be used over conventional key systems. Cipher locks have a keypad that allows you to enter a PIN to unlock the door. Electronic locking systems can log the time someone has gained access to the facility, so that would be another log you could check. Man traps, basically they're just like where they open a door, you step in, and you're in a little tiny like cage, basically. And they have you in there, and once you pass their security checks, they can open the other door and let you into the facility. Network device hardening techniques. So you can use 802.1x to authenticate using Radius, who are connecting to a wireless network, wired network, or a VPN server. Switches, they have a lot of different features for security, such as port security. You can do MAC filtering, and you can turn on and off different ports on the switch. Use VLANs on the switch to create different network segments, allowing you to control which clients can communicate to other systems of the network. Always having a guest network for untrusted systems. So, yeah, that's important. Implementing firewalls. You want to have your firewalls and have them set up correctly so they only let traffic through that should be coming through. And let's see here. All right. Screened host firewall places a router between the firewall and the internet and filters and analyzes the traffic before it reaches the firewall. A dual homed firewall is made up of a computer with two network interfaces that filters traffics from one interface to the other. A DMZ is a network segment that allows select traffic through the firewall to the DMZ. The DMZ can host the web servers, the email server for a company, but it does not host any private corporate servers. These are located behind an additional firewall. Mitigation techniques, ensure you keep your virus software up to date. Follow common network device hardening techniques such as changing default passwords, disabling unnecessary services, and updating your firmware. Harden the network switches by disabling unused ports, limiting which systems can connect to a port with port security, and enabling any guard features that block certain types of packets. Create different network segments and control which computers can communicate with network segments, typically done with VLANs. Okay, so that was a lot of stuff to go through. This stuff's all kind of important. So put the time in and make sure you get this stuff down. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. And let's take a look here of what's coming up. So, all right. So this was week 13 that we just did. So week 14, you're going to have the rest of the book to read, 16 and 17. You're going to have finish up the labs pretty much, and we're going to have some Professor Messer videos. And then week 15, there's no assignments. So you can use this as a week to catch up and make sure that you get everything in. And then there's a study sheet for the Network Plus cram sheet and a glossary. So those are some tools you can use to get ready for the final exam. And then week 16, still another week you can get caught up. No assignments, so you'll be studying for the final exam and getting anything caught up. And then week 17, we'll take the exam, and you'll have 3 attempts. I'll take the highest grade, as we did on the midterm, and you'll have 90 minutes for 75 questions. So that's how the course is panning out. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Other than that, have a wonderful week, and I'll talk at you next week. Bye.